Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all those clinging desperately to your stock portfolios, gather round as we delve into the mind-boggling saga of Ford's greatest claim to infamy, the one, the only, Edsel. That's right, folks. We're about to embark on a journey through the annals of automotive history to uncover how Ford's so-called perfect car managed to become the most spectacular flop known to mankind. Before we jump in, let's set the stage with a whopper, shall we? We're talking about a colossal net loss of $350 million. Adjusted for inflation, that would be a gnarly $3 billion. Yes, billion with a B, setting the kind of mood Wall Street loves. Spoiler alert, it's not a happy one. Now, if you're thinking, hey, $350 million, that's chump change for a multi-billion-dollar company like Ford, well, you might be right. But let's not forget where they decided to graciously direct their dollars. A marketing budget so extravagant it could make high rollers in Vegas blush. Ford laid down a princely sum of $250 million on marketing alone, or as I like to call it, a bonfire of vanities that could burn straight through to the Earth's core. Every dollar was spent with the kind of reckless abandon only a Fortune 500 company could muster. Just picture an executive boardroom filled with over-caffeinated men in suits, betting big on the automotive equivalent of a horse with 3 legs. So what, you might ask, did all those millions buy Ford? Well, they sure didn't buy them a clue. The Edsel became synonymous with failure faster than you can say, bad investment. This was a market strategy so foolproof that it should have come with a "warning may cause bankruptcy" label. And just to sweeten the deal, let's add to the chaos. A 25% drop in Ford's stock price. That's right. One magical car launch slashed a quarter off their stock value quicker than you can mispronounce Edsel. But oh, the optimism. Ford went all out with a marketing campaign, promising the Edsel would redefine how the world sees automobiles. They even told consumers it was the car of the future, which is funny because it certainly predicted their financial doom with pinpoint accuracy. They held no less than 18 preview showings across the country, which must have felt less like unveiling a new car and more like an elaborate public shaming. Imagine eager folks lining up to see the car that would supposedly change their lives, only to find it was a bit like waiting for a blockbuster movie and getting a rerun of Cats. Let's talk about the grand marketing genius behind this flop. Ford hired preeminent ad agencies and held brainstorming sessions that probably looked a lot like a group of toddlers deciding on a lunch venue. Their advertising portrait of the Edsel was painted in the broadest strokes of delusion, portraying it as a futuristic chariot that would usher families into a new era of motoring bliss. Spoiler alert, that era never came. The marketing budget included unnecessary luxuries like a private jet for dealership executives and an Edsel-themed variety television show. Because naturally, the best way to sell cars is with a variety show, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to watch a live juggling act followed by a demonstration of a car that struggles to start on cold mornings? But wait, there's more. For that kind of cash, you'd think they could have at least hired a sorcerer to conjure up some good luck. Instead, the Edsel was named after Henry Ford's son, Edsel Ford, which is ironic considering it went on to be the automotive equivalent of being named Sue. And by the way, if you're wondering what possessed Ford to saddle this historic experiment in vehicular identity crisis with such a name, you're not alone. Because when you're trying to make history, why not use a name that sounds like an experimental kitchen appliance? Let's not forget the overblown expectations. Ford predicted they would sell an astronomical 200,000 units in its first year. They ended up selling less than half of that, clearing about 63,000 units in 1958. Talk about shooting for the stars and landing in a pothole. The only thing more inflated than their goals was the egos in the boardroom when they thought this Titanic on wheels was going to sail smoothly into the hearts of American families. In conclusion, what we have is a case study in corporate arrogance, a cautionary tale told in dollar signs and epic fails. The Edsel was a perfect storm of misguided intentions and ineptitude on a grand scale. It's a reminder that when you believe you can't fail, you usually do it with astonishing flair. So join me next time for part 2 as we dig deeper into the technical triumphs, or rather technical tragedies, of the Edsel. Spoiler alert. The car's horn had a tendency to honk itself, which was perfect for alerting everyone nearby of incoming failure. Stay tuned. The grand unveiling of the Ford Edsel was perhaps one of the most ambitious automotive launches of its time. With a drumroll of excitement, marketing campaigns were executed with precision, promising a revolutionary vehicle that would pave the way for the future of driving. Flashy ads, filled with chromatic filters and grinning actors, told tales of a car that was not just a machine, but an experience. Expectations soared as Ford forecasted the Edsel to capture a minimum of 10% of the market share, translating to approximately 200,000 units annually. This was the dream. But as reality soon showed, it was a fantasy built on stilts. The launch didn't just sputter, it imploded. On social media, the echo of disappointment resonated louder than the sound of the Edsel's engine. Within weeks, negative tweets about the car skyrocketed to over 25,000, a storm of dissatisfaction brewing online as if summoned by a digital Zeus. A particularly viral tweet capturing the sentiment in 280 characters read, "The Edsel, a car so innovative it couldn't successfully drive itself out of a parking lot." Retweeted over 5,000 times, it encapsulated the collective dismay of would-be owners who expected more than what they got. A car that could barely live up to its promises. On YouTube, the launch event video became an unintended comedy hit. It amassed over 500,000 views, with the dislike ratio tipping the scales at 70%. Every thumb pointing downward was a testament to the public's disapproval. Commentators crowed about the Edsel's design, likening its front grille to an Oldsmobile sucking a lemon, a visual that stuck with potential buyers more stubbornly than any advertisement Ford could produce. The numbers that followed were a disaster for the company. Just a month after the launch, Ford's market share plummeted by 3%, a stark contrast to the anticipated gain. Instead of the projected 200,000 units, only 64,000 Edsels found their way to customers in its first year. This rapid descent was as unprecedented as it was alarming, marking an immediate re-evaluation of company strategies. Ford, expecting to gaze out over a horizon of expanding profits, instead found themselves staring into an abyss of losses estimated at over $350 million, roughly $3 billion today when adjusted for inflation. Sales volume wasn't the only casualty of the launch catastrophe. The Edsel's image took a bigger hit, primarily due to its reputation as an overhyped hunk of metal. It was a case of great expectations meeting cold reality. Ford had envisioned the Edsel as a beacon of American ingenuity and style, a must-have parked in every suburban driveway. Instead, it became the punchline to a joke nobody wanted to hear. A reviewer from a leading auto magazine famously quipped, "The Edsel is the car of the future, always will be." And while it was supposed to be a fresh take, the public read it as a sardonic critique. The automotive graveyard is littered with the remains of failed models, but the Edsel's epitaph is particularly haunting. Its failure wasn't just about poor sales or unfortunate design choices. It was a public dethroning of a corporate giant, a Cinderella story running in reverse. Ford, having promised its customers the world, had delivered a lemon, one that would be remembered for its sourness for generations to come. The discrepancy between the expected growth and the actual plunge was nothing short of spectacular. Instead of a 10% market share, Ford had to be content with less than 3% for the Edsel, a discrepancy that left executives scratching their heads and stockholders shaking their fists. Beyond the boardrooms and the showrooms, the Edsel's saga played out on the streets. Car enthusiasts, armed with their tools and a healthy dose of skepticism, began tearing into the Edsel's clunky mechanics, sharing videos of their findings. These critiques, often brutal and unfiltered, attracted thousands of views. One particularly enlightening video series, humorously titled "Edsel, Anatomy of a Mistake," dissected the vehicle's failures, gaining over 200,000 subscribers who were eager for each new episode detailing another flaw previously hidden beneath the chrome. In neighborhoods across America, the Edsel became a symbol of misplaced trust. Garages that should have been bustling with the activity of Edsel maintenance remained silent, the vehicles gathering dust instead of admiration. Ford's grand narrative had unraveled, leaving in its wake a lesson in humility, a cautionary tale of hubris, and the undeniable proof that even giants could stumble. The Ford Edsel promised to redefine the automotive experience. In a way, it did, just not in the manner anyone had hoped. As the dust settled on this automotive misadventure, Ford was left to pick up the pieces, their dreams of expansion buried beneath a mountain of unmet expectations. The Edsel had driven straight into the books of history, not as a triumph of design and innovation, but as one of the greatest marketing misfires of all time. The Ford Edsel. A name that has become synonymous with catastrophe, much like Titanic or New Coke, but without the romance of an iceberg or the fizz of novelty. Let's talk about the aftermath. Those delightful ripples of disaster that radiated outward, ensnaring all who dared to be near. When the smoke cleared and the accountants emerged from their spreadsheets like dazed groundhogs, the final tally of financial carnage was laid bare. An impressive, if not entirely admirable, $9 billion market cap had evaporated into the ether, taking with it dreams of grandeur and a few executives' summer homes. This figure might seem absurd, but remember, this was the era of unchecked optimism, where every dollar lost was a stepping stone to a brighter future, at least according to the PR department. As for the CEO at the helm of this sinking ship, the company's board decided to cushion his fall from grace with a golden parachute gilded with irony and substantial cash. Fired with the kind of fanfare usually reserved for launching a new model, he was dispatched with a severance package that would make a lottery winner blush. After all, when you've driven an entire division into the ground, there's no better way to say you tried than with a check large enough to ensure you'll never have to try again. Of course, the true legacy of the Edsel was not just a financial black hole, but a cultural touchstone for poor decision-making. It left an indelible mark on Ford's reputation, a blemish that took years to fade. The company, now branded with the scarlet letter of failure, embarked on a long and arduous journey to reclaim its credibility. How many years did it take to scrub away the shame and restore the brand to its former glory? Well, let's just say that if you'd planted a tree on the day the Edsel launched, it would have been old enough to be a mid-sized sedan by the time people stopped snickering at the name. Rebuilding the Ford name wasn't simply a matter of new models and splashy ad campaigns. It required a cultural shift, a reimagining of what it meant to be a part of Ford Motor Company. The engineers, once blindsided by the hubris of unchecked creativity, were dragged back to the drawing board with a new mandate: make cars, not headlines. The marketing department, licking its wounds, finally acknowledged that consumer insights were more than just a suggestion. As for the dealerships, those brave outposts that had borne the brunt of consumer ire, they were left to sweep up the debris and pretend it was confetti. Ford's executives, now older and presumably wiser, came to see the Edsel as an expensive lesson, a euphemism so genteel it could have been crafted by an etiquette coach. Yet beneath the corporate speak lay a raw truth. Sometimes you have to crash spectacularly to realize you're driving off a cliff. And in doing so, the Edsel had inadvertently paved the way for more prudent, if less adventurous, undertakings in the future. But perhaps the most enduring legacy of the Edsel's demise was its contribution to the rich tapestry of American humor. Oh, how the late-night hosts of the era mustered their best material, milking the situation for every last drop of comedic potential. The Edsel became a punchline, a cautionary tale told with an eye roll and a chuckle, ensuring its place in the annals of corporate blunders. And so, as we close this chapter on the Ford Edsel, let's take a moment to appreciate the beauty of a well-intentioned disaster. It stands as a reminder that even the mightiest can falter, that confidence unchecked is a dangerous fuel, and that, in the end, Every calamity has its own peculiar grace. The Edsel may have vanished from showrooms and highways, but it will forever cruise the open road of our collective memory, an enduring testament to ambition, folly, and the curious alchemy of failure.